Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 2 of What If the Ottomans Were Christian. At last, it is here. I know that I've been gone for quite a while, but for those of you who don't know why, just check out my previous video on why I was gone. And so today we will be starting off season 2 by talking about North America. Now, again, I want to emphasize this because most of you don't do it. Please go to Julius Caesar's channel and watch his videos because those will give you the context for my videos, because this is a collaboration between him and I, in case you're new or in case you didn't know. And so we are alternating. Each one does one episode. So episode 1 is already on his channel, and although it's not crucial to understand this episode, there is a lot that goes on in that episode that will relate to this one. So everything about what's going on in Europe and South America is covered in his video, and so I'll be talking about North America. So that was a bit of a lengthy intro, but yeah, please, go check out episode 1 of season 2. And I hope you've done that, because I will begin starting now. So between 1683 and 1725, Klein Venedig gradually evolves to become a more centralized and aristocratic state to increase its loyalty to the Spanish Empire while slowly expanding into the southwest of the modern United States. During the 1770s, it colonizes California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. In 1789, Klein Venedig establishes a monarchy out of its centralized state, as its presidency was already a hereditary title at this point anyways. The House of Mexica is established. This new monarchy briefly colonizes all the way up to Alaska. Now, in 1791, just as in our timeline, the Haitian Revolution breaks out. Meanwhile, in 1799, as Louis XVI is executed, his brother flees to Quebec, a stronghold of French royalism and Roman Catholicism. However, Louisiana stays loyal to the government under Napoleon. In 1804, Haiti gains independence, causing a mass migration of French slave owners to Louisiana, as any of them who are found are quickly massacred. In 1816, as the French Empire falls, French Republicans emigrate from France, mostly to Louisiana. Now, no longer having a use for Quebec being under Louis' control, the United Kingdom begins invading Quebec. And in 1819, Quebec City is taken by the British. In the following year, all of Quebec is under British control. In 1822, Klein Venedig takes the western bank of the Mississippi, conquering most of Louisiana, while in 1823, the United Kingdom conquers the rest of Louisiana, ending French presence on the entire continent of North America. Now in 1836, Andrew Jackson, a well-respected general, uses the wave of decolonization that was going on in South America, and again, this is why I'm saying you should watch the previous video to know about how South America is going, as prime time to finally declare an independent United States. In order to prevent the American, and especially the French-American population, to think of this as creating another Napoleon, Andrew Jackson declares himself the first Secretary General of the American Republic, as opposed to a monarchy. He leads a march on Philadelphia, which he takes. This causes the War of American Independence to break out. In 1838, France joins the war on the American side, hoping to regain Quebec and gain vengeance on the British. In 1843, America does win the war, establishing itself as a free republic led by Andrew Jackson for life. He then invades Florida and commits genocide against the natives. How lovely. Now in 1845, old and war-weary Andrew Jackson dies and is succeeded by the expansionist James K. Polk. James K. Polk succeeds him and immediately declares a series of westward expansions, crossing illegally over the Mississippi River with his army. Now, do remember that the west side of the Mississippi is owned by Klein Venedig, and it fires back, beginning a war. A large chunk of the American army drowns crossing the river, and they are pushed back. This is a huge humiliation for the Americans, but they are emboldened and chant, "Remember the Mississippi." In 1849, as elections approach, Polk uses his wartime measures to cancel them, which causes even more outrage. Right as he's going to face a major rebellion, he dies mere months later. America is taken over by Zachary Taylor, the only general to win a major victory. But the following year he dies and is succeeded by Ulysses S. Grant, who, despite being an unimpressive president, directly leads his men into battle. Spurred on by the news that gold was found in California, the motivated American army has high morale, and Grant leads them to victory against Klein Venedict. In 1853, America conquers all of Louisiana, which was previously claimed by Klein Venedict, and forces them to grant American miners and gold prospectors free access to California, causing a flood of American settlers to move in. Meanwhile, the British are about to fund some of the rebels, so Ulysses S. Grant makes a compromise leading to a democratic spring and the beginning of true democracy in the United States, making Ulysses S. Grant its first president. In 1857, his term is over, and Abraham Lincoln becomes the first democratically elected president of the United States after the term of Ulysses S. Grant ends. In 1861, he wins an extremely contentious re-election. Under pressure from the British as well as American abolitionists, he abolishes slavery. This prompts a coup by an even more fanatically pro-slavery Confederate movement led by Robert E. Lee. As Abraham Lincoln is surrounded in Jackson, D.C., the new American capital still under construction and with weak defenses, the army captures him and forces him to reinstate slavery. This causes a massive slave rebellion across the United States, but concentrated in the South. The United Kingdom, meanwhile, seizes the opportunity to weaken the United States and funds the slave rebels with weapons and money. They also declare war on the United States under the pretense of ending slavery and freeing Lincoln. They, however, really use the opportunity to invade and instigate a French rebellion against the government. The British march into Canada to supposedly protect them, but soon take over the area and establish their own rule over it, because up until now, Canada had been under American control. Now, in 1865, the disorganized Americans fighting French and slave rebellions, as well as the British Army, give up and are forced to restore Lincoln to power. Slavery is abolished, and slave owners are forced to give over their land to the slaves. Canada is ceded to the United Kingdom, and Abraham Lincoln is back in control. As the Confederates surrender and leave into exile, they leave explosives in the White House, which blows up, killing Lincoln and many others. They then escape to the edge of the known world, to an outpost of the vast expanse of Klein Venedict, known as California, a land of gold inhabited by many rowdy Americans. Now, having arrived, they stir up the mostly Southern Americans to rebel against the government and declare the independence of California as the last slave bastion of North America, quickly enslaving the natives as their new slave labor. Klein Venedict responds to the second American aggression by having their king personally lead his army into California, where he is captured by the rebels. Emboldened, the Californians cross south to spread freedom and democracy to the people, but they are surprised by the fierce resistance and are pushed back. In 1868, both sides are exhausted, so Klein Venedict forces California to nominally accept them as their overlord and abolish slavery. California agrees, ending the war. So what will happen next? What will go on, say, back in Europe? Well, there's only one way to find out. Check out Julius Caesar's channel. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.